Hi, this is Shambhavi. Welcome to my weekly podcast about spirituality, love, death, devotion, and waking up while living in a messy world. The Satsang with Shambhavi podcast is recorded live each week with students of our nonprofit community, Jayakula. For more information and to find out about attending a satsang, visit jayakula.org. Thanks for listening. Much love to you, wherever and however you are. One of the most important vehicles for sadhana, for practice, in both the tradition of Trika Shaivism and Dzogchen is called the sandhi. It's spelled S-A-N-D-H-I, but it's pronounced like S-U, sandhi. And it means a gap or a juncture or an in-between. So we are often practicing with various sandhi. For instance, the sandhi between the in-breath and the out-breath, and the out-breath and the in-breath. Or the sandhi between sleeping and waking. Or the sandhi between mantras. Or the sandhi that occurs when we pause and abide in the state of our practice. The sandhi is a natural opening that we can train ourselves to experience, and which is kind of a gateway to experiencing the natural state. And this instrument, the tanpura, is built around the sandhi. It's a very simple instrument. It's a drone instrument, but it's considered to be the most important instrument in any ensemble that's playing traditional music from India. And the reason is because it is an embodiment of all of reality, or you could say it's an embodiment of Shiva. This is a travel tanpura. There are other ones that are made out of big gourds and they have quite a different sound. But you can still get the idea. So if you'll hear the way that I'm playing, every time I put my hand down, that's the sandhi. So the notes that you hear, the individual notes, are like us. They're the waves in the ocean, the manifestation. The drone that's underneath those notes that's being created between the resonance of the strings is like the ocean out of which the waves are arising. And then the sandhi is the completely unconditioned vastness of the nature of God. Or we hear just that. Anything could arise out of that gap. It's a complete teaching of you, this instrument and the sound that it makes. Sometimes when I start playing it, I just feel like I could just play this through the whole satsang and not say anything. I mean, really, what more is there to be said? I have to force myself to start talking again sometimes. In fact, we have a little group of students who've been studying with me for a long time. And we meet once a month and just play around in reality with various things. And I think one time we just sat and did this, listened to this for like an hour. So this is satsang. Would anyone like me to talk about anything?
I was thinking about the concept of digging one well deeply as opposed to many shallow wells. Do you think that idea applies to other aspects of our lives, not just spiritual practice? I mean, should we take the same attitude towards work or relationships or geographic location?
I don't think there's one rule like that applies to every circumstance. I cooked a very basic French meal tonight, and somebody asked me if I'd ever worked in a French restaurant, and I said only as a waiter, not as a cook, when I was in my 20s. And there was a fellow there who worked with me, another waiter, He used to say, you only go around once in life and you got to eat all the food you can. That was this thing that he liked to say. So I'd say it does, when you live in a realm like this human realm of planet Earth, certainly there's a lot of things to taste. And in some circumstances, we should taste them if it doesn't hurt our health or divert us from our main goal in life or distract us from what we really value. There's a lot of things to taste, a lot of wonders, a lot of sights. It's like we wouldn't just want to see the color green all the time. We want to see all the colors. But in terms of spiritual life or our relationship to any wisdom tradition, not just sadhana, but for instance, healing or, some kind of herbal tradition or studying sacred texts or anything like that, Ayurveda. If we're apprentice divination, if we're apprentice to a wisdom tradition, we have to be apprentices. Just to bring it to ordinary life. Have you ever noticed that there's really no such thing as an okay ballet dancer? It's unless they're really good, they're not good. Right? There's an okay writer or an okay musician. So when we're apprenticed to something like the arts or healing or spiritual practice, those things are lifelong apprenticeships. And we can't be effective at expressing ourselves in those traditions without going really, really deep. And the question is not some sort of overarching rule about only dig one well deep. It's what do we each individually have the capacity for? It could differ from one person to another, right? Maybe somebody has the capacity to be a deep apprentice to multiple traditions or multiple teachers. I mean, anything's possible. So we don't want to make a rule that applies to everybody. We want to think about ourselves. How am I? What condition am I in? What do I need? And most of us, when it comes to a wisdom tradition, we can only do one. That's just how it is. But the basic orientation towards those traditions is lifelong apprenticeship. That's how you get them into your system enough so that you can use them to express yourself freely. And this is something I have talked about a lot because it's something I care about a lot. And the reason I care about it is because when we're starting out in a tradition, a wisdom tradition, unless we're very, very lucky to be around people who exemplify the deeper fruits of those traditions, we often just don't know what it looks like to fully embody those traditions. And so we get in our mind, it's like someone taking an asana class in the United States whose only goal is to, stretch out or heal some sort of physical ailment or be more productive at work. And that person may not have any even concept or contact with anyone who exemplifies the deeper fruits of those practices or even knows about them. And this is, a situation that I always feel a little bit sad about. These traditions that I'm engaged with have so much more to offer than most people think they do, at least in this country. And so, it's like people are being cheated in a sense. I mean, on an absolute sense, it really doesn't make any difference whatsoever. Everything's fine. But down here in the relative world, it would be nice if more people dig deeper so that they experience more fruits from the practices that they're doing. And there's people who dedicate their entire lives to something like Chinese medicine or yoga, whatever, as we call it here, who never get past the most basic experience with those traditions because they just don't know and they don't have anyone to tell them or teach them. So we should go really, really deep into those traditions if we want to know just how unbelievably magical they are. It's just mind-boggling how magic they are compared to our ordinary expectations of life here in this country.
Hi, I have a question about practice. Yeah, I noticed that some days I'm really excited and it's like an alive, dynamic practice. And some days I'm kind of dragging my feet and it's kind of more dull and dead and not as exciting or focused even. So I don't know what my question is in that, but I'm just wondering if you could speak to that.
That is completely and absolutely inevitable. Normal, expected, fine, and absolutely not a problem. So, first of all, drop any idea that you might have that if it's working, it should be exciting, or anything in that genre, right? Just drop it, kick it to the curb, because it's wrong. You will quickly tire of doing daily seated practice if you hold a concept that it should be exciting or relaxing or interesting or something should happen that's positive every single time you sit down. That will be a huge obstacle if you hold on to any ideas like that. So the only thing you should know is that a good practice is the one you do. That's it. If you sit down and do it, it's good. Period. Pat yourself on the back. The other thing is that if we do practice every single day, now I've been doing sadhana every day for more than 35 years. I don't know how many days that is. Somebody who's better at basic math than I am can figure that out. But that means every day I'm sitting or doing practice in some form or another for many, many hours. And there are many, many moods I've been in. There are many conditions I've been in. There are many feelings I've felt. That's, when you sit every day for years on end, you're going to feel everything it's possible to feel. You're going to feel some things you didn't know were possible to feel. And the only thing that differentiates a good practitioner is actually just doing it every day and sitting through the boring times and the frustrating times and the painful times. And you just continue doing it like a little child obeying their parent. You just do it. That's it. And then the fruits come, because when you sit down to do practice, you are relating to wisdom. You don't even have to know you're doing that. I mean, it's nice when you know, but even if you don't know, that's happening. You're in a relationship with wisdom, and wisdom is going to be teaching you. It's not all you trying to make something happen. All you need to do is do the practices with as much sincerity and presence as you can muster. And when you find yourself losing presence, you just slowly lead yourself back without any judgment or blame or, oh God, I was just thinking about something and I didn't even know what I was doing for the last 5 minutes. Just don't ever do that to yourself. The image that I always use is like a little puppy is running off and you just gently bring the little puppy back. And then literally God does the rest, right? If you show up every day and do your practice with sincerity and as much focus and presence as you can muster on that day or that moment, God will do the rest. You don't have to do anything but that. You are not aiming for an achievement. And any achievement you think you're aiming for, what is actually available is so much better than that. So for instance, if I go in a store, let's say there's this like store that's like a convenience store in the front and Dean and DeLuca in the back. Dean and DeLuca is this very, very, very fancy food shop in New York City where they have all kinds of like petit fours and handmade chocolates and stuff. But I want Skittles. I must have Skittles. Skittles are my ultimate goal. And so I go in the store and Skittles! Yoo! Skittles! And I buy my Skittles and I've done it. And I never even get to Dean and DeLuca's. Right? So the fruits of practice are like Dean and DeLuca's. Don't settle for the Skittles. So the ideas that you have about what practice is for are the Skittles. So just relax, do your practice every day, expect it to take an infinite amount of time. Just keep doing it. It's like an apprenticeship, day by day. And then slowly over time, you're going to notice things happening slowly. It's not as dramatic as we wish it were. That's the problem. It's only occasionally dramatic or accumulatively dramatic over a long period of time. Usually the drama of spiritual practice is like you just keep going along every day, doing this, that, and the other. Doesn't seem like anything's happening. And then you just look back and you're like, oh my God, I feel totally different. But the drama isn't happening in some like giant event, right? It's accumulating. And then there's an occasional exclamation point. But you can't even know what that is going to look like or feel like or taste like. You just have to be the apprentice.